I think that's really the only way to fail, to truly fail, is if you don't even try, right?
Yeah.
Because the sooner you can identify, and I know it really does take a lifetime, but the sooner you can identify just who you are and what you love and what brings you life, and I know not everybody's able to find a job or a career that is perfect. Like I don't want to pretend like everybody gets to do the perfect job. But the more you know about yourself at a younger age, I think you can begin to head that direction. I always wanted to help. I always liked to help people. It kind of started with my family, my friends, my church, my city. And then as I got to know more, as I grew up, I learned there were people around the world who did not grow up the way I did.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Creekcast once again on a brand new episode. Now with another very special guest that has come here to join us here. If you didn't know, if we didn't mention this, this is actually our second time speaking because our first episode corrupted and we lost the entire thing. So, if you would like to introduce yourself.
I'd be happy to. It's so good to be here. My name is Kenton Lee, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization called Because International. One of the things we do, which most people know us by, is there's a shoe that we made, a shoe that can adjust and expand its size, and we call it the shoe that grows. So I'm the shoe guy, and been doing this for a few years, and it's wonderful to be talking to you guys again. We had a good conversation the first time, and I'm happy to do it. Happy to chat again. Appreciate the work that you all are doing, and thanks for the invite to be on the show.
Yeah, I mean, as always, a pleasure to have you here anytime. Right now, we're going to jump back into our ad break, and then we'll be right back. So let's do this fast.
Everyone listening, this ain't no obligation. We get if you skip through the ads. I do it myself sometimes, but please stick around. This might interest you. You never know. You don't get Anchor on YouTube. You get Surfshark. And what is Surfshark? #1 VPN. You already know it. Keeps your data safe, information private, all to yourself. Quality of your content does not go down. This ain't no illegal. It's perfectly legal. Don't worry about that. It's pretty affordable, especially with our discount. And you just gotta check that link down in the description, But if you don't want to, don't worry. We appreciate you just being here, watching, supporting, everything you do. Like, subscribe, just a view, a stream, anything, Thank you. We appreciate it. And on with the content. Enjoy it, please. Boom. Welcome back from that little ad break. We're just going to get straight into it. Starting off with looking a bit at your past and kind of your early stages of growing up, and kind of also starting to lean into college and this whole process that took towards Because International and the shoe that grows. If you could just kind of give a brief overview over that.
Yeah, I've been really lucky in my life. I had two wonderful parents, a great brother, just really had a very loving, wonderful upbringing. So I was a happy kid, tried to be a good kid. I grew up in a small town and just had a lot of those, I don't know, kind of small town, kind of farm values put into me, and so I always wanted to help. I always liked to help people. It kind of started with my family, my friends, my church, my city, and then as I got to know more, as I grew up, I learned there were people around the world who did not grow up the way I did, that were facing struggles and challenges based on poverty and things that I just thought, oh, I remember, the first time you see a picture, see a video, or hear a story about, especially a child who's struggling with the challenges of poverty. I mean, it gets at you, right? It's really breaks your heart, and so as I grew up and then got into college, I really wanted to learn more about the world and how to make a difference, how to help. And so after college, I was, I guess, a little bit ready. I maybe not fully ready, but I hadn't really ever been outside the U.S. I hadn't really ever seen some of the things I'd learned about, and I still had this heart for wanting to help. And so I took a year after college and traveled. I lived in Ecuador for 6 months, and then in Kenya for 6 months. And those experiences really changed my life, and they gave me, this kind of hands-on, experience working with kids and families challenged by poverty. And again, it was just life-changing. But especially when I was in Kenya, I had this moment where I was living and volunteering at a small orphanage. And this one day I was walking with all the kids. We were actually walking to church, and there was a little girl walking next to me. She was wearing a white dress. I'll never forget that. This beautiful white dress. But as I looked down at her, I was just shocked at how small her how small her shoes were. She was wearing these shoes that were just way too small for her feet. They were so small she had to cut open the front to let her toes stick out. Mm-hmm. And that day I just had this idea. What if there was a shoe that could adjust and expand its size? What if there was a shoe that could grow? It seemed like that would make sense for this little girl and for other kids too. And so it just kind of hit me at the right time in my life, the right opportunity, the right idea. And when I got back home, I just jumped in with both feet, trying to make this growing shoe idea come to life.
Yeah, I mean, great stuff all around. But actually, I already knew of your work way before the Creekcast or even the idea of this. I actually saw a TED Talk of you, actually, I believe, saying this exact same story. So it's kind of surreal to see it being retold here I was gonna say in person, but
sure, almost in person,
kinda. So I know it's a story of how kindness and selfishness comes from. I don't want to say like naturally to humans, because I don't personally think so, but to some people, just from the get-go, you try to not solve everyone's problems but help out, which is a very selfless thing to do, and is something that you're not only born with, but you can learn like as you grow and learn about the world that surrounds you. You actually tend to know, because we tend to be really ignorant to our immediate, everything that isn't our immediate surroundings. So that's again one of the purposes of this podcast, to get more perspectives and be less ignorant in general about the world that surrounds us. And I mean, it's just a great story to hear.
And I think it also kind of bonds to a bigger kind of conversation, which is the whole dealing with comfort and kind of also mixing in with problem solving, because right as you described it, very briefly, but it kind of shows how when you are exposed to problems that you wouldn't normally be exposed to, whether you're the type of person to think of solutions or not, it can come from you to see that there is this problem, and any idea could really kind of come to fruition and become something like the shoe that grows. And really, if you don't go outside of that comfort zone, which for you would have been that kind of bubble that a lot of people grow up in, not seeing the outside world or the outside problems, and once you're exposed to them, you kind of hit that shock, as well as saying, oh look, there is this problem, and there is a way to deal with it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I like to tell people, if anybody ever asks me advice or questions about, they're trying to get something started and what should they do, all that, I always tell them first, like, great job trying. Like whether you succeed or not, great job trying to do something, because I think that's really the only way to fail, to truly fail, is if you don't even try, right? And so, for me, it was baby steps. I started just, watching whatever it was, videos, or reading stories and things in books and stuff at church, and then started to maybe do a little bit of community service and volunteering, and kind of get my hands dirty that way, just around my town. And then that kind of led to more learning and more service. And then again, I was kind of ready to take this year and travel after college, which not everybody needs to do that, but I was ready for that. And so when I did that, then I had this moment at the orphanage with this little girl, and had that idea, and I was ready for it,
Yeah.
But it's, again, people might never create a product, like the shoe that grows, and that's fine. Might never start a nonprofit, and that's totally fine. The only way that I think I'd be disappointed in somebody, or the only way that the world's not going to move forward, is if people don't try. Yeah, like you said, that comfort zone, and it is so much more comfortable to sit on the couch and watch Netflix, right? It's wonderful, actually. I still do that, but I mean, you have to try, and you have to live within your own passions. For me, it's shoes and kids, and trying to help with alleviating international kind of global poverty. For other people, it's animals, or it's their sports, or something in their hometown, or something in their state, or something in nature. I mean, whatever it is, it doesn't. I never tell people what they need to do, specifically.
Yeah.
I just love it when people try, when they try to make a difference. And I think you had a great point. Some of that is probably a little natural, and then it can easily be learned as well. You can get in the weeds, and you can learn every kind of theory and all the best ways to help, or kind of like what my TED Talk was about. I talked about practical compassion, just doing small things that make a big difference. And some of those don't even have to be like the perfect way to help, but they're just trying, just doing something. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan. Like, I think if all of us lived within our passions and just tried to do things, and don't just be too comfortable, and don't just sit around, I think the world's going to be a better place, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, those small acts of kindness, and those ideas of just trying, maybe they're not all going to be big hits. They're not all going to be. You're most definitely going to see failure in attempts, because that's how life is. But maybe, just maybe, one of those attempts rolls into something bigger and can help other people. And I think that's way more than enough to even consider trying.
Yeah.
Like, maybe one of these hundreds of ideas, maybe one of them can help somebody somewhere. And I think that's more than enough to try and help.
And it's also kind of a matter of, not only do you try, but things come naturally in a certain sense. And, I mean, we've seen a lot on this podcast, kind of that, not everything is planned, pinpoint to grow these organizations, or these people that are really at the front line of changing things that they see as problems. It comes with time, and it's a slow process that you really do have to handle with care, and kind of not get frustrated as well. You have to take that step by step. I mean, we've also experienced that, kind of trying to grow a community and an audience, and getting a message further. So yeah, I think it also does come with a lot of patience, and as long as you try, and it's something that you truly do care about, it can end up being something that at least you're happy with yourself about. And putting that little seed in, which we talked about on another episode. When you plant that seed, it's doing something, and when more people plant those seeds, it's building a whole forest. So it's a whole community, not just you taking on the world.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's just the idea of change being slow is not something that people
Sure.
often take into account when doing projects or trying to help. They're like, yeah, I'm going to put my 100%, like 3 seconds, and that will be enough. And it's really not. I mean, when trying to do something good, I mean, the pure idea is more than enough for someone, but if you actually want to make tangible change, it's being constant about it. It's not a 1 week, overnight, or even months to success. It takes a lot of time to get something rolling, and if you're not ready to make those sacrifices, then it's not going to go anywhere. So it's not only it's a tough balance, I would say, because doing something bad, boom, instant karma, I would say. Well, not necessarily karma, but you can see the effects pretty.
The impact.
Yeah, like pretty. Not tangible, but immediately. But with a more positive approach to things, maybe it's not even that we can see it, but we refuse to see it. We talked about this on another episode of how negative news are way more impactful and stay on your mind a lot more time than good news, because they're simply bad news. There's no particular science to it. It's just bad takes more over you. So by doing wrong, it seems so much more immediate, and by trying to do good, it almost feels like an uphill battle, because it really is. I mean, it's a concept, I would say. It's difficult to grasp, but it's an uphill battle that many people are actually fighting. It's just that we refuse. Well, we don't actively refuse to, but we tend not to see the work of other people.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of leaning on with that, I guess when we have a fairly young audience, and obviously, Kenton, you've gone through a lot of experiences, and you've gone through that process of kind of leaving that comfort bubble and really exploring what's outside of it. So really kind of advice to younger people, or what would you say to yourself in college, for example?
Yeah, great question. It's I'd say a lot of things to myself in college, but with this specifically, for anybody who's a little bit younger, and then for myself, 15 years ago in college, I think it all starts with finding out what you love. I wish I would have taken a little more time for that. I wish I would have known that life, ideally, life is pretty long. It does go fast, but I thought if I didn't have the perfect job at 22, if I wasn't on the right career path at 22, I thought I was ruining it, right? Like I had no concept that life was really pretty similar from 22 to 24, right? Like I'm still young, I'm still all that. Like I wish I would have taken more time to really discover what I loved. Now I kind of stumbled into it because I did take time to travel. I did take that year to go see the world and explore. And but even more, I wish I would have more intentionally taken time to find out, what do I love? Do I love, trying to help people? Do I love, is it animals? Is it nature? What gets me going? Is it more on the business side? Is it being an entrepreneur? Is it being a part of a really great large company? Or is it more on the nonprofit side? Is it more even stuff like trying to figure out, am I more of a behind the scenes kind of person, or do I like to be out front? Do I like to be really leading? And what do I want to do? What do I love? Because the sooner you can identify, and I know it really does take a lifetime, but the sooner you can identify just who you are and what you love and what brings you life, and I know not everybody is able to find a job or a career that is perfect. Like I don't want to pretend like everybody gets to do the perfect job. But the more you know about yourself at a younger age, I think you can begin to head that direction. And even for me, I came back from those travels. I had this idea for a growing shoe, something that I thought was really going to make a difference for kids around the world who are in poverty. So something that I was just passionate about, right? I was on fire for it. But that wasn't going to pay any of my bills, right? And so I went out. I had to get a regular job, that wasn't bad, but I didn't love it. I really didn't like it that much. And so, but yeah, you kind of have to do what you have to do. I get that. But I knew that with every kind of life decision, I wanted to get a little bit closer to doing the things that I knew I loved to do.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm 37, I'm an old guy. It is both my passion to work with the shoe that grows and to work with our organization, and it's my job, and it provides for my family, which is amazing, right? And so, so it's interesting. I wish I would have told myself, like, hey, it's not going to be perfect. Like, don't think it's going to happen overnight. But college age Kenton, you need to begin to really figure out what you love to do. Because even something else I just learned recently, I really love starting stuff. I might not be like the finisher or the manager, but I really like starting stuff. Yeah. And I just kind of realized that the last couple of years. And so as I move forward, and I'll move on at some point, as I move on to something else, I'm going to look for something that I can try to start, somehow that I can be entrepreneurial, because I know that I think is my best strength, and it gives me life, and I love doing it. And so, again, the sooner you can kind of know yourself and know what you love, the sooner you'll be able to really dig deep, and whether that's more education, whether that's more experience, whether that's gaining certain strengths and skills, but like you'll just be able to really sink your teeth into it and hopefully get pretty good at it, because the world needs people who are doing what they love and people who are really good at doing those things, like it's like you look at Elon Musk, you look at like anyone who's just really good at what they do. The world needs them to do that, right? Like the world needs certain people to do certain things. And so if you're off doing something that you're not very good at and you don't love it, I mean, again, I know this stuff doesn't happen overnight. I know you got to pay bills, you got to pay back student loans, all that kind of stuff. But if you're not happy with what you're doing, and if you're not good at it, change course, do something to get out of that comfort zone. Get out of that comfort zone, do something to begin to really figure out who you are and what you're good at and what you love, and then just start heading that direction. Something like that. That'd probably be my advice for myself or for anybody out there.
I mean, especially nowadays, both of us are getting ready for college and stuff, last year of high school, so it's pretty daunting to hear all of this. Oh, you have to choose now your career for life, and you have to pick not only something, it's not something that you want, it's something that makes you money. So it's kind of daunting. So I would say it's a good message for our audience that it's honestly really sparse. I was going to say young, but it really fluctuates.
And that's also the thing, right? Like it doesn't necessarily apply to a certain age group. I mean, you can always change your life path, and there's always a discussion to be had of whether people who don't have the availability to really and the privilege, to kind of explore those explore those interests and go outside and do these different things, because we live in a very marginalized world. But when you do, I think it's a very important subject to really not only improve yourself but improve the people around you, because at any age you can change what you think your passions are. I mean, we are constantly changing and finding new information, not only about the world but ourselves. And yeah, I think it's a really important point there, which is kind of I guess the highlight is comfort, and you have to leave that comfort zone and do other things. I mean, if you prefer to do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to be able to find out if the biggest passion you have is out there, but you've never tried it. So yeah, I think it's really something interesting and a good piece of advice.
Yeah, I mean, my father always says this quote. I kind of forget the exact quotation, but it's something like the best time to start something you want to do was 5 years ago, and the second best time is right now.
Yeah.
So right. It's the only way for you to start moving forward is to actually put a foot in front of you and start walking right now. We always tend to put stuff for, oh well, I'll do it later, like,
yeah,
or not even out of laziness, but maybe out of need, like, I'm not in a very good spot right now, I'll do it later. But it's something that it could have, I don't know, if you can do it right now, even if you feel that you're not in the same in the best place to start something, maybe you can move towards it. It's just for yourself.
Yeah, and it isn't easy. It isn't easy.
No, I mean, it's a complicated task. I mean, most tasks like that's like life-altering decisions are not a, oh, you know what, I'm going to start eating healthy today, and then you started eating healthy the rest of your life. I mean, you're going to doubt yourself and fail, most likely, eventually. But what matters is that you're starting right now, because it's easier for you to take your falls right now instead of waiting for it to come later. They're going to come either way. Just get
you're always going to fail.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of how it goes. There's not one person who has tried to start something and do it first try every single time. You're eventually going to fail, and it's how you deal with that failure that defines who you are. It's not your victories who defines who you are, but more of how you deal with your losses.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, it's just that keep going. That's the main takeaway, I would say. I mean, it's hard. And it's not immediate.
I think, but kind of as you said, the failures are really important, and everybody's going to fail. If you're failing, don't feel bad, because it's part of the process. And I think at the end of the day, you learn more from experience than the book by book stuff, which obviously it's useful, but it's kind of a big pie, and with different angles and pieces that end up making this big piece. And I think experience is huge on that. I guess before we start kind of closing up with the big three, my last kind of question to you, Kenton, is in those experiences, which ones have really stuck with you, and the moments that make you say, I mean, this taught me so much, and this pushed me so much, or this taught me everything in that moment, those experiences and moments.
Yeah, I think the ones for me, the experiences that have kind of meant the most to me throughout my life have always been with people, and usually with people that are very different from me. So when I got to live in Kenya for those 6 months, and if anyone has the ability and privilege to travel, I mean, go do it. That's a great way to get out of your comfort zone, and something that can really stretch you, and you learn a lot about yourself when you travel. I know not everybody has the ability to do that, but if you do, I highly encourage it. But I mean, the kids at that orphanage, they just taught me so much. So many people that I met during those travels, and it was wonderful to be in a different place and see all the different sites. But for me, it was always the people. It was those people, and then specifically here in my town. Again, I grew up with two great parents and a brother, and we had a very middle class, just very normal, at least for where I grew up, pretty typical kind of upbringing. But in the last few years, there's been a homeless gentleman that I've gotten to know, and he's my friend now. Like we're friends, and that friendship with him has really taught me so much about, at least locally, local poverty, the struggles that he goes through, the success that he has, even in some areas of his life, the things he does well, and what he's proud of, and just what he thinks about, what he likes to talk about, and how differently we view things. I mean, but that friendship, that experience, being friends with him, has taught me more than what I probably ever read in books about homelessness in America and things like that. And so, yeah, for me, it's digging in, getting to know people, especially people that are different from me. Those have been some of the best experiences that have taught me the most throughout my life.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of a little overview of, I guess, the message that we also try to give out. We've met a lot of people, and we've talked to a lot of people so far, with many more to come. And from every person you get something, and
Sure.
It's really, it's something that you have to actively search for. And it certainly isn't easy to put yourself out there and be open and talking with people, and being open to being wrong and learning. But when you let yourself have that opportunity, and for example, talking with you or any other guest, you always get a snippet of something that really sticks with you, and it shows you a whole different perspective on something that a lot of the time you didn't either know of, or you had misjudged, or you thought, what, nobody's doing anything to help the world. And then you meet all these excellent people, and it changes you.
Yeah, that's why we try to bring so many different kinds of people to the podcast, because we all, whether you can see it or not, we all live in a echo chamber of just the same opinions all over and over and over again. And it's comfortable. You don't have to think too hard because everyone agrees with you.
Yeah.
So, hey, how bad can it be? But it's when you step outside that echo chamber and bring yourself to being, like, as you said, wrong, which many people, including me, hate to be. Once you are open to that, you start to learn so much more. And that's key to growing as a person. I mean, some people will gladly live in ignorance the rest of their life because it's the easy way to do, but that's not how we roll around here. We try to learn all around. So I think that sums it up pretty well. I think right now we are going to start to close off with our big three questions, which you're familiar. Dear listener, if you're not familiar with the big three, you should be, because I don't know how many episodes we've done this. But yeah, basically the three biggest questions we ask all of our guests to get to know just really hard who you are and your values. And your general vibe, I would say. So
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So the first of the big three is most inspiring person in your personal and professional life.
Yeah, good question. Personal life, my dad was just the best dad in the world, and he passed away a few years ago, and I think about him every day. He was just such a good guy, such a hard worker, just a very kind of a quiet guy, but whenever he did talk, people listened. He was just kind of everything I hope to be. If I could be half the man he was, I'd be happy. So yeah, he's always my guy. He's always my kind of example and my motivation, my inspiration. Professionally, there are lots of people that I've gotten to work with and be around these last probably 5 or 6 years as I've done our nonprofit work. And one of them, I don't know if I've ever answered this question with his name before, but there's an awesome guy named Samir Lakhani. Samir started an organization called Eco Soap Bank. They kind of just go by Eco Soap now, but Eco Soap, they take kind of soap that hotels are going to throw away and other companies would normally throw away, and they recycle it, and they are able to distribute that soap again, and they do it in a really cool way, and they do this around the world, and they hire local people to help them recycle and redistribute this soap. But Samir is just fantastic. Like he's kind of ahead of me in life. He has built up a wonderful organization. He is just such a great leader. I really look to him and to Eco Soap to kind of see what they're doing, see how they're doing it. Even just the other day, I got a handwritten letter from one of their board members, and I brought it into the office because I'm like, wow, maybe we should do this. Like I always get ideas from him. I always kind of look to him to see how he's leading and how he's doing his work. And so I kind of steal lots of ideas from him. So professionally, he's just a rock star to me, and I love the work that he's doing, and I love the person that he is. Yeah, I don't think I've ever said that. I hope he's listening. Samir, I hope you're listening, because I think very highly of you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get him on now.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, let me know if I can help make that happen. Let me know. He's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blown away. So yeah, leading on to the second question, which is, your 3 future goals, which can be in your work or in your personal life, because there's neither one beats the other.
Yeah, sure. I'll give 3. A couple goals from work. So, two big goals, kind of the mountains we're trying to climb. In the next 10 years, we want to distribute 1 million pairs of the shoe that grows. We're about at 350,000 right now. So we do maybe 75,000 pairs a year. And so we are super excited once we hit that 10-year mark. We'd love to be up to 1 million pairs. So that's a goal that really drives us. Another goal, we have a program where we train entrepreneurs from around the world, and through those trainings, through helping them create businesses, we would love to, in the next 10 years, create 10,000 jobs. It might be a little ambitious goal, but we know that the more entrepreneurs we work with, the more businesses that we can help create and become sustainable businesses. Those jobs are going to add up, and so we're going to keep going until it adds up to 10,000, and we're really excited about that. And then one personal goal, I know, so it's kind of a little boring, but for me, I do fundraising. That's kind of what I do now in my role with the organization, and so I've got some kind of personal goals around fundraising. This year, I'm trying to raise about $250,000, and I've kind of got that target that I'm shooting for, and so I'm getting pretty close to that already. It's been a really good year. We've got lots of people that support us, and it's just amazing, very humbling to receive support from people. But yeah, if I can make my personal goal happen at work, that's just going to put our organization in a much better spot to then make these big goals happen. And so it's just kind of grinding and hustling every day. You guys are familiar with that, and it doesn't change. Yeah, no matter what you're doing, you gotta work hard, you gotta grind, you gotta hustle.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm trying to chase after those goals for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely ambitious goals. Nothing wrong with that. I would say
That's right.
Those are the best kinds of goals.
That's
go
right.
big or go home.
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, I really do hope it all goes well, because when they do, we can have you back again for the third time in this podcast.
Yeah, deal. I'll be there. That's right.
Perfect. And right now, just to close off the podcast, we have our very last question of the big three, and is, what mark do you want to leave in this world?
Oh, wow. What mark do I want to leave in this world? You know, I start with my kids. That's kind of and I'd love to be a good husband to my wife, but especially my kids. I'd love for them to be kind, to be brave, to be hard workers, to think for themselves. I'd love for them to kind of what we talked about today. I'd love for them to be in a position where they can do what they love, and they can try, and they can make a difference in whatever way they're passionate about. And I won't try to dictate their story for them, you know, but I do hope that the main mark that I would leave would be two really good kids that have turned into to really good people. You know, beyond that, I would love to achieve some of these goals that we have as an organization. I'd love to get 1 million shoes out there to kids who need them, and I would love to be a part of creating 10,000 jobs. That would be, I would feel good about you know, taking a break after that, right? Like that. I mean, I'd feel really good about leaving that kind of a mark. Yeah. Because that would be both kind of short-term help, those resources that people need, that kids need, and our shoes kind of fall in that category. But then also that long-term help through jobs. I think employment is one of the best long-term forms of aid, and just makes everything better. And so to try to bring 10,000 jobs to people in these next 10 years, that'd be huge. So. Yeah. I
mean, yeah. What a way to close it up.
Send off.
Yeah. Absolute honor and pleasure once again to have you on here. Thank you for coming back on after we totally didn't know how to record back then.
Well, I'm glad you guys told me. I'm glad you reached out. You guys are trying. I see that in you guys.
Yeah,
I mean, that's honestly that's one reason I said yes again and said yes in the first place. I love that you guys are reaching out and making this happen. I love that at a young age you're trying. You could be doing a lot more comfortable things with your time, right? You know, I mean, you could just be doing video games and watching movies, and I'm sure you do. I hope you do those things too.
I trust me, I do.
Yeah, good. But I love that you're trying something. I love that you're learning and getting this experience and putting your mark. You're already on your way to making a mark on the world. And again, I wish I would have started a little younger. I wish I would have started a little sooner. And so I can't wait to see where you guys go and what you guys do. You got to hear about my kind of 10-year goals for our organization. I'd love to challenge you guys to think about some 10-year goals. I wonder where you guys want to be in 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, think about that. Send me an email. Let me know. But this was so fun. Thanks for having me on, and appreciate the opportunity. And this was great.
Thank you so much, Kenton.
Well, then we'll have you back in another episode. We don't know when, but definitely somewhere. Sometime.
Perfect. I'll be there. All right,
thanks, it's been a pleasure. Dear listener, thanks for being so patient with us and going to the very last second of the episode. Here's our Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Follow us there. Follow Kenton on everything we link.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Creek you later.
Hey, good job, guys.
Thanks,
good
Kenton.
show.